All good here.
Yeah.
Morning teas. What's going on?
Oh, dude, it's stormy and brutal and not very nice here at the moment. But I can see where you are, and that looks
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. This is pretty quiet morning. Yeah, really like autumn vibes, I would say.
Are you just at home kicking about?
Yeah.
Oh man, nice,
Yes.
very nice. But
Back 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 home, reloading and recharging for going on the next leg of the tour in like about a week.
how long you had off? How long between runs?
Now it's been yeah, it's we had about between 2 and 3 weeks in between the tour,
Is that a
the last tour and this one.
is that enough to sort of recharge for you and hang with the family and everything? Or
Yeah, normally it's enough. This time it felt like enough, but also it depends on how much work you have to do in between. It's not like the touring is the only part of the job.
no, it never ends. Like right now,
Mm.
your morning spent
Yeah,
doing interviews and all that kind of jazz. But
yeah, no, but that it comes it comes with the job, and yeah, I enjoy it.
yeah, cool, man. Well, hey, it is good to see you again. It's been a little while since we've spoken. Uh,
Yeah,
but man, yeah, it's good. Thanks for hanging out again.
yeah, likewise, sir. Yeah, I guess we haven't spoken since last album
Yes,
cycle. Yeah.
that's right. That is right. So it's good to see you again. Of course, you're coming down to Australia for the first time, which is very, very exciting. Uh,
Mm.
this is the first time for you, right?
Yeah, um, definitely first time for Wardruna to yeah to come down under. I've sort of passed through Australia like 25 years ago or something like that. But only spent I spent 2 days in Sydney. That's it. That's my Australian experience so far. So it's great to finally be able to see a bit more of the country, and of course to share our music down there.
What was that for? When you came just for...
Uh, Actually, I was visiting my brother who was doing like a not in Australia in New Zealand, where I spent like 6 weeks or something on the North Island in New Zealand back in 2000. So visiting my brother who was working there for a period.
That would have been right when it was overrun by hobbits.
Yeah. Yeah.
Everything would have been just you couldn't see anything. But man, of course, the tour dates for this one are spread out with a day or two in between, which is unheard of for bands coming down here. Usually, it's bang, 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 out you go, see you later. You've got time
Mm.
to maybe see the country and experience things. Is that the plan? Was that how it was mapped out?
Yes, both yes and no. It's also about uh, yeah handling decompressing a little bit. We don't since you don't have time to stay there for a long time before. Like we're on the more or less the opposite time zone, and uh, so I don't know. It's a big puzzle, but that's part of it. Also, it's part of it to not like um, yeah to have an enjoyable stay when we're there um, yeah to properly land to properly connect to the place and yeah we're I'm sure it will help us do a better job, which is in the end why we're there to do a good job and yeah. So hopefully we get to see some stuff, see some of the nature. Yeah, experience part of the culture. That's always a bonus.
Absolutely. Are you bringing the family down with you, or it's just pure work?
um, couldn't bring the whole family. We looked into making it happen, but for various reasons, it wasn't possible this time. But of course, my son is part of the crew we travel with, so at least I have one person from the inner circle experiencing this with me.
Oh,
So
that's
it's
unreal.
a great thing. Yeah,
How old's he?
he's 21.
Oh, wow, man. Yeah, that's cool. Is he, so he's taken after his dad musically, or just part of the crew, did you say?
He, well, both my kids have been on and off doing music, but nothing like really serious. More for enjoyment, and they both love music, and yeah, he's been working in the industry and been been traveling with us basically for what is it, 2 years now, being part of the crew, the stage crew, backline, as a backline technician now.
Oh, man, that's pretty special. You know,
It is. It is. It's cool to yeah to experience things like this together. Of course,
absolutely.
it's a gift.
Man, oh, that's so cool. But of course, your new album, Burma, is out on January 24. While you're down here, it drops, which is pretty cool. You get to celebrate that with us. What, man,
Yeah.
what an incredible fucking record, too. Dude.
Well, thank you, thank you. Yeah, it's I'm sort of still too close to the writing process. I basically just came out of that tunnel or creative space, so I haven't sort of had the time to get that that distance and overview bird perspective on it. But yeah, it's a pretty. I don't think I went commercial or anything like that. It's a pretty conceptual album, perhaps the most conceptual album I've done so far. It's one of those that makes sense to hear as a whole. Um, yeah, and as the title sort of indicates, Birna being, or Birna
Oh,
being the Norse word for she bear. So the sort of the main story arch of the album throughout 6 or 7 songs is basically the rhythm or cycle of the bear being put into sound, a soundscape, uh, and yeah, it's kind of a record I wanted to make for several years. Been thinking about it for a long time, and um, I guess what took most time when I actually started to like go into it was to find the voice, find how to approach it, because the more I read, the more I studied and so on, both about the history between man and bear, as well as the bear itself from a scientific point of view. I realized that more so than the other albums, this needed to be very much a contemporary album.
yeah.
Yeah, the bear doesn't need our historical or human cultural ornamentations to be its own powerful self. I'd rather just give voice to the same to what it is about the bear that created all of these stories and myths in the first place, rather than just regurgitating some old ones that we are not in touch with at all anymore. So yeah, that's sort of the backbone of it.
It's a very spiritual thing. You know, you can feel that when you listen to it. You know, obviously, you know, through indigenous cultures and as guardians and guides. But what was it that inspired it? Like, was there something that happened, or something you saw that really set that off for you, that you really found that connection with the bear?
Uh, well, of course, when you look around and you see that, the bear has always been both in the Nordic region as well as many other places where there are bears. They are seen as sort of the guardian of the woodlands,
Yeah.
the king or queen of the woodlands in a way. And when you look around here, it's like it's the woodlands without their queen. In a way, they are chased away, and the woodlands are vanishing more and more. So of course, it it did feel like the time to give voice to the yeah to the bear in that sense. Um, Although I'm not very fond of the kind of activism that it can very quickly become a very negative thing, a very pessimistic thing, a very war. Attack, talking about everything you're against. But with Wardruna, I've always had the focus and the desire to speak about things that I am for.
Yes.
Rather than water all the weeds, if you know what I mean. So it's a fine line, but so giving voice to something in nature that and to these patterns we see in nature that are just so perfect and powerful and inspiring. And timeless. That is what I want to do, and that is sort of what I've always wanted to do with the music and lyrical content of Wardruna. But where I was in the earlier albums, I was perhaps more esoteric and more speaking in riddles than perhaps now I'm a bit more direct in these subjects when I sing about these things. So I guess that's the difference.
And in regards to writing, I believe this took a little while to put together. So I mean, five-piece rock metal band can, throw out riffs, but I don't imagine Wardruna music being something that you can just do that. It's a lot of care and a lot of patience that would have to go into writing this kind of stuff. So where do you even begin? Like, where does that even start for you?
It can start from many places, but the creative concept of Wardruna has always been that it is the theme that that defines a lot of the starting points. It defines what the instruments I choose to use when I record, where I record, what state I'm in when I record, the sounds I use. If and that can be many different things. Sometimes it's a theme is so has such a strong sound to it that I just hear it, when I start going into it, and then it's about chasing it down. Of course, sometimes it's the instrument that inspire these things, and then you have like I think my main muse have always been walking. That is when I hear or see or I just hear music and get very creative when I'm out walking. So that's of course a method. Sometimes it's poetry, but when I do work on like something very specific, whether it's giving voice to the birch tree, or then of course go and play on birch trees and have that as the starting point where everything grows out of that, or water or stones or whatever. Like for instance on this album, when I did the song called Dvaledrömmar, or the dormant dreams, portraying the hibernative state of the bear dreaming in its den. Then I, of course, wanted to. A thing I latched onto when reading about the hibernation, what the bear does is that it lowers its heartbeat to between 9 and 10 beats per minute, and of course. Then I chose to use that as the pulse that goes through the whole 15-minute long piece, and everything else sort of grew out of that. So I very often try to be the instrument rather than the composer, and the theme is the composer, and I'm just trying to follow it where it wants to go rather than trying to force it into some shape.
Did you go and well, I don't know if that's something you could do. We haven't got bears down here. We've got koalas, which are like this big, and so we haven't got bears here. But did you go and, I don't know, maybe and see some bears or connect with some bears, or I don't know how that even works. But did you get that far? Your research for the album,
I mostly research because I don't know. I have a problem with these zoo animals,
Yeah.
wild animals, and there are rescue programs and all of that, and that's fine. But seeing polar bears and bears in a zoo, that breaks my heart more than connects. It connects me to them, but in not a good way. So I deliberately didn't want to do that, or um, yeah, or go, yeah, it just felt wrong. There was some talk about going joining nature photographers
Yeah.
on on a like a bear safari in the wild. There was some talk about doing that, but for whatever reason, it didn't work out within the time frame that was possible.
No, I get that about, the bears and stuff in captivity like that. Like we've got, I'm not going to say the company because I don't want them to come after me. But here we've got polar bears that they just look sad, and it breaks my heart every time.
Yeah, it's horrible. They
It
don't belong there.
No, no, they don't
Not.
belong in a, on the Gold Coast in a, no, I'm gonna get all sad now. I don't want to bring that.
Yeah.
I feel it.
No.
I feel for the animals quite deeply. But of course,
Yeah.
musically, the band has a very spiritual element to it. It's very powerful. Like I believe that you can't just listen to Wardruna, you feel it when you listen to it. It's very physical and emotional as well. When writing, do you feel all those emotions as well? Like, do you let it take you away? Like, what do you feel when you're creating this?
Yeah, I feel it all. It's when I go into this tunnel of creation, like properly, it can be a pretty painful, or you get uh, all aspects of the on the emotional spectrum, I would say, and of course, music, or at least for me, pardon, I need to. For me, it's so important that whatever I do, it comes from somewhere that is real. Um, it, it and it has to move me in a way, um, for me to want to bother with it. If I don't have anything to say, I'll just stop saying it and do something else with my life. I think I just it needs to come from somewhere that is real. And of course, I'm not the same person now that I was um, 20 years ago when I was creating. Different things moved me then. So in a way, I feel every time I do this, I have to dig deeper. Um, So yeah, for me, and I think if you want to reach the heart of someone, it needs to come from the heart. It needs to be something genuine, in a way. You can't fake, or I can't do it. I think I've been like that since I was a child, or back when I was a drummer, when I didn't have the energy or the emotional attachment to what it was I was doing, I sucked, uh, like really. And I'm like that as well. I need, um, the fuel needs to come from somewhere real. The connectiveness. So I that's something I spend a lot of time doing when I work with these songs. And uh, as you say, I think a lot of these things are so from like a music historical perspective as well. When you go far enough back in time, you see just how universal certain things. You find them in ethnic music from or traditional music from all over the globe. Certain things you find them everywhere. So when you tap into them, it's like hearing things that maybe you didn't know they existed, but they knew you existed. It's almost like they're in our DNA in a way. It's nature creates culture. It's that simple in a way. And but of course, nature is different, so culture becomes different as well. But it's dialects of the same thing. The mechanism is the same. I think that is also why a lot of people react so strongly. Um, when you tap into these like primal, ancient polyrhythmical things and frequencies, um, drawn landscapes, and some of these instruments that are also sort of locked to this type of ancient tonality that you find so many places around the globe. So I think it's just it's as old as us in a way.
100%. It wakes something up in you. When I listen to it,
Yeah.
yeah, as I said, I get a physical response. It's like, I don't
Mm.
know what you call it, goosebumps. You get the
Yeah.
goosebumps, and I can get a little emotional when I hear some of it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I'm like you. For me to work on music, I need to find some emotional connection to it, or I
Yeah.
struggle through 100%. And something that I find interesting. Sorry if I'm holding you up. Just one last thing I want to ask you. Obviously, with bands like yourself, and there's the Who, from Mongolia and Heilong, and traditional bands have
Mm.
worked in video games, which has inspired people to go back to explore those traditional types of music and nature and stuff. It's kind of mind blowing.
Mm.
Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, that's and yeah, being part of that, I do think, um, giving voice to some of these. Of course, uh, there are many stereotypes and things that aren't necessarily so historically accurate, uh, in that soup
yes.
of entertainment soup. But on the other hand, if you do genuinely spark an interest of a person, uh, and they go and look into the actual sources, they will so easily see what is what. For me, it's entertainment, and if that entertainment can spark a healthy interest for roots and tradition and history, I'm all for it, because I think those things are important, really important. Also, knowing where you come from, knowing, yeah, not being a rootless tree is a healthy thing. Also, or especially in meeting other traditions and cultures. Uh, the people who are secure in themselves, they aren't scared of other cultures, and it's the xenophobia that creates the bad kind of friction in cultural meetings. People who are have a healthy relation to their traditions, they aren't so fearful, so threatened. They don't feel so threatened. So yeah, I do believe that this massive storm of interest for various historical cultures have sort of it comes with some confusion and bullshit, but the broad strokes of it, I think there are the positives are more than the negatives when you do the adding up.
Absolutely, mate. But hey, it's really exciting. You're coming to Australia, and this new album's almost out, and man, it's going to be all here before you know it. So, brother,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much
time flies.
for hanging out. It's good to see you again.
Likewise, sir. It was a pleasure, and yeah, finally, finally. Um, um, yeah, I know a lot of people have been waiting for a long time for us to visit Down Under, and it feels fantastic that is finally happening. So yeah,
See you. We'll see you down under, brother. But in the meantime, we'll have all the links down here and on the website. Enjoy the day out there, and think about us in the dark, doomily, stormy weather.
yeah. I will. I will.
Take care of yourself,
All
brother.
right. Have a good one.
See you,
Bye
man.
bye.